Hi, everybody. So I'm here today with Charla, and Charla is going to be probably one of my most favorite interviews ever. Because, what do you do for a living?
I'm a sexologist. I get to study sex.
This is awesome. So I'm in Austin, Texas right now, and Charla, you have worked and lived here for how long?
15 years I've been involved in teaching sexual wellness and wisdom. And I actually didn't even find the occupation, Dakota, till I was in my 50s.
Oh, wow.
I was after menopause and I thought, what would I really like to know, learn more about, and bring in a bigger way into my life? So we often study what we want to really know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I became a sexologist. I actually got my PhD. It is possible
Wow.
to do that.
I see a new career on the horizon.
Yeah.
So, just to recap, because we just met actually about 3 or 4 days ago, and I was just instantly enthralled and wanted to know more. And most, for me, the context of what I teach is the medicine wheel, and we talked a little bit about it before the interview. But in the medicine wheel, in the south direction, we have the vibrancy, emotions, relationship, intuition, sexuality, intimacy. Those are the core energies of the south direction. And when somebody is out of balance, they can either be non-sexual, asexual, or they can be over-sexualized or have a fear of intimacy. Mm-hmm. And we've had this discussion in the mentorship often because there is such a taboo around sexuality, talking about it, expressing it. And you look at the whole Me Too movement right now, and there's, just this whole bubble around that topic.
Exciting to be really at a time in which especially younger women are just coming out and saying Me Too and that's enough. And it has struck such a chord, especially in some of us that have matured and lived through the 60s and the 70s at a time in which women were much more marginalized. And feeling the bravery of them and wanting to celebrate and support that. And yeah, so the south part of the medicine wheel, I'm glad we got the south.
Yes.
Because it's all the palm trees and the beaches and the passion and the sun and the warmth. And that is in the directions of our lives, very, very beautiful spot. And right, if we are afraid of intimacy, which I think most of us are, and I think I am, and I'm teaching a class right now for actually people more the senior citizen age that says playtime for grown-ups. How do we start to date again or to meet people or to bring this kind of thing back into our lives? And so it does need to be imbalanced. And for living in a culture like we have, Dakota, in which the religion and the culture has really shoved it under the table, under the rug, for us to reclaim that and to feel like we're in the driver's seat of our erotic and sexual being, that we can make those choices. To me, it's that empowerment that I go after. It's not so much, when I first started, I thought it was, how to give a good back rub or this little tantra or put some rose petals in the bath. It was little like techniques I thought would make your life so much better. And techniques are important in knowing how to touch. But what has really taken the centerfold of my more mature practice is finding how each person can take a look at their past, how we've all been abused in a way. We before we had words, we were ordered around or diaper change or put in a high chair or kiss grandma or hold hands with your buddy or go fishing with Uncle Joe or whatever. And we haven't taken a look at that and learned as mature erotic beings to take back our power, to decide what happens on our bodies. At every moment is up to us. We can change our minds. It's a wonderful thing to change. But so my job as an empowerment coach well, kind of like yours is an empowerment and a balance coach, is to take that South sphere or that sexuality, take a look at it in a conscious adult way, and take back the body.
Yeah.
Take back the night.
Exactly.
Take back what we've been told is dark and shameful, and make it part of us, a part that we can express with ease, and that we can share with others, hopefully more and more often.
Yes, I agree. And, I think that you touch on something really that needs to be reiterated, and that's the taking back the power. And from all those situations that took it away to begin with, but also that religious shaming and the cultural shaming. And you look at different cultures and they have different varying degrees of how they feel about sexuality or women or even men. And being able to really be self-contained in this body and this spirit and this soul, and this is my life. This is we have one life right now that we can that we have charge of. And when we give our power away, and as we so often do, especially women, that we just keep making ourselves smaller and smaller and smaller. But right now, as we're rising up into that divine feminine.
Divine feminine.
Yeah. And what I find interesting is right now I feel like there's this shift that's happening, and I don't know that people really know what to do with it, because you got the divine feminine rising, you've got the Me Too movement that's kind of saying, enough is enough. I am reclaiming this power. And yet, in what we talk about in here is that women put sexuality down at the bottom.
It's really interesting. I think that when I was in Sweden, it was during the Pride Parade, and Stockholm was 1 million people, and a third of them were either in the parade or along the sides of the parade. They have 8 political parties, and 7 of them had big floats. The fire department was there, the rescue, the nurses, the candy makers. I don't care, they were there. And yet you ask a Swedish woman, gee, you're very liberated, aren't you? Well, somewhat, yes, and we've got a ways to go.
Yeah.
And yet you'd ask like a Pakistani woman or somebody from a very, very other kind of very closed and struggling culture, and sometimes they feel we're fine.
Right.
So that idea of not even knowing sometimes, but wanting to do that basic reclaiming.
Yeah.
And feeling the rise of our time. And I'd like to think my work, and probably your work, is part in there trying to get people in that way to...
Yeah. And to tap into that primal power, that primal energy that, sometimes becomes dormant. And I think even in, just in relationships, there's usually like a power differential, but to become more equal in that arena, and to make it more of a priority, because that sexual primal energy is strong and powerful.
It's so funny because women can be so strong, like in the boardroom.
Yes.
And they fall apart in the bedroom. They go back to the old script. Oh my gosh, can't he put on his mind reading glasses, or she? And can't my partner just, do I have to really say it out loud? God, I'll sound like a slut. Or maybe that I've had so much experience. Can't you just read me? Because guess what? If you can't read me and do it right for me, without me taking any responsibility, of course, then I can blame you.
Yes.
And so I do meet people that have yet to claim how much power they do have. And I play a little game with people called the 3-minute game that I learned at Body Electric.
This sounds good.
I get to go to the best schools, right? And it's really a chance to research your own desires, express them out loud, see if they're a go or not. Everything's consensual and clear. And then you want to arrange that kind of touch, and I usually time it 3 minutes, and we usually start non-sexual to begin with to get that muscle exercised of being able to play the game. Then you can gradually go more sexual in longer periods of time, but you're still practiced then in knowing what you desire. That's a hard one sometimes.
That is hard, yeah.
And the more you play the game, the more you can kind of get fun with it. And then saying it out loud, because lots of things get kind of caught there.
Yeah.
And then getting to practice your yes and no's with somebody who's also feeling the same kinds of things to you. And so many of my workshops, Dakota, we just practice, and nobody's ever touched or touches anybody they don't want. You can learn from the peripheral and watch others. There's no, you can practice it. It's like driving a car. You don't have to have a Cadillac to drive on, or a Chevy only. You don't know what the orientation of your partner might be. It might be same sex work or whatever. Sometimes those are the most valuable, especially for men who come in and think, my God, they can't ever even hold a hand of another man.
Yeah.
So learning the skills to express yourself and let that come out, so we don't expect somebody else to have to do things they can't do, like read our minds.
Right.
So we can lose some of that resentment we have. We can empower ourselves not only in the boardroom, but in the bedroom. Because I think if you got it in the bedroom, the rest of the world's at your fingertips.
Yes. I would agree with that. Completely. And, when I think about the medicine wheel, this fits in perfectly, because in the East direction, we have communication. And so you have to have that voice to be able to express and say what it is that you want and desire. And then in the South, you've got the emotional aspect to it. So being able to emotionally connect with your partner.
Yeah.
And then in the West, you have the physical body. So that's that tangible, orgasmic experience. And, let's really feel and touch and be there. And then in the North, you've got the spiritual body. So you've got that spiritual connection with your partner, hopefully. And you have that perfect union.
Yeah.
That brings it together and makes it a spiritual experience.
Beautiful. That is just so beautiful. I want to hear more about your work too.
Yeah.
And when that South emotion that you were saying, sometimes our emotions can't have that East communication.
Right. Yeah.
And then we can fear the physical will get spin out of control because we haven't been able to communicate physically.
Exactly.
That maybe, no, the panties don't come off now.
Yeah.
I want my panties on.
Right.
I notice partners sometimes just want your panties off so soon. And just, a lot of what I teach is kind of how to slow down.
Yeah.
And be in the moment and take a deep breath, because we want to feel that north spiritual.
Right.
Be able to see somebody look in their eyes.
When you look again at the medicine wheel, North and South are the feminine directions. And that's where women they want that spiritual, emotional connection with their partner.
Oh, yeah.
And men, the masculine is East-West. So let's get physical.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what I want.
Yeah.
And so when you have people who are out of balance in any one of these directions, they're not going to have that expression either in the masculine way or in the feminine way. And so, it's not, for me, I don't look at gender. It's not male or female, but, because I can have a lot of masculine energy or I can have a lot of feminine energy, same with you. And so it's about balancing all of that energy within your own medicine wheel so that you can have that best expression. And, slow it down. Don't go right to the West direction and go physical.
Yeah, it's so interesting, the masculine and feminine. And we know we're both masculine and feminine, so we've got all this power to do all of this. And one of the things that I think is so special about aging in sexuality is that men kind of go within and slow up and genuinely recognize they want more intimacy into me see.
Yeah.
And women realize, my God, they've been in the home. They've often suppressed some of themselves. They want to go out and mentor out and speak out,
right.
Especially today more. And I really think that men wanting to slow up and go inside, and women stop apologizing for their own brand of sexuality and have more of the confidence there, and they want to go out, and they have to go out. In a heterosexual world, at least there's a lot less men than women when you get older, and if they're not going to be a little proactive, they're going to be twiddling their thumbs.
Right.
So that idea that as we age, we can even find more common ground. I like that.
Yeah, I love that.
There's more for both of us.
Yeah. And I think, I know for myself speaking, that vulnerable piece of it is really hard to tap into. It's scary. It's scary to be vulnerable with somebody physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And so do you find in your work that that is a sticking point for a lot of people in general?
Do you remember, Dakota, when did you learn the word vulnerable?
Gosh.
I did not know that in college, believe it or not.
Yeah, I didn't either. Probably Brene Brown was the first time I really started
as an adult.
Yeah, as an adult.
Okay, I was married for 23 years. And I didn't have the word, but what I wanted to tell my husband, we had pretty nice sex actually, but there was so often I just wanted him just to be real.
Yeah.
Was my word for vulnerable at that point. That he didn't have to act like he knew it all and whatever. And I also wanted to pause in our relation, in our sexuality.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a sign to do that. Finally, at about age 50, after we've been married 20 years, we got the sign of a double squeeze.
Oh.
Means, stop right there. I'm going to hang out here for a while.
Oh.
You know, so we did get that. We didn't even have to verbalize, oh, can you hold on for a minute? But because we were looking at prolonging that and enjoying that. But that vulnerability is such a later term for us. And what I see in my 15 years of seeing 7,000 different students and teaching classes and having people come in the door and say, I'm not like other lovers, I want to give. And I say, you're just like most other lovers, because most of us feel more comfortable giving.
Right.
Giving is the secure place, and receiving is the vulnerable.
Yes.
So often a lover goes, I'm going to give to you, I want to give you an orgasm.
Right.
Kind of agenda oriented, and get you wet or get you hard. And the other person says, well, that's not exactly what I had in mind, but I want to make you feel like a man or a woman. I want you to feel like you're a great partner, and I want you to feel confident about yourself. So I'm going to give you that, even though it's not quite. I'm going to give you that. Both people are giving.
Yes.
And nobody is there to receive.
Oh, what a good point.
And it feels like work.
Yeah.
Because it is work.
Right.
So what I do, this is so much fun. I have people take turns so that you're either giving or receiving, you're doing or being done to. And the touch is in one direction. And you have your turn. Then I have my turn, and I know that I'm serving or whatever. Or even if it's your turn and you're getting to touch me how you want, then I'm simply allowing my body within, the limits. It's always consensual. So we know who the touch is for. It's explicit. No questions asked. And then you can put on your receiver hat.
Right. And
you can start to breathe big. And you can... Regular massage therapists love to massage me.
I'm sure.
I am there, and I have learned to use my breath, and I'm making sound, and I'm somewhat kind of even moaning sometimes. I might warn them beforehand that I'm a coach, a sexuality coach. But they get done with me, and they go, wow, can I pay to massage you again?
You're like, yeah.
And I'm not faking it.
Yeah.
That's what 15 years in the sex field can help you with. That's what I teach in classes. How do you receive? It isn't the giving, it is the vulnerable receiving, that if you want to become a hot, great, deep lover, you look at your receiving. How much can you take in? How big can your breath be? How much can you feel safe? Because it's been somewhat negotiated. I'm going to give you a breast massage. I'm going to give you a butt massage. But it's not going to go to the genitals.
Right.
Or I'm going to give you a genital massage, but you're going to lead it this time, or whatever. The power of that Eastern communication is what I think we're missing.
Yes. Yeah.
When you come down to this emotional, juicy South, and the waves just don't lap over the beach perfectly because that's a perfect world. It's because you've learned to appreciate that emotional South. Yeah. And you have given it the kind of attention and consciousness by bringing in the whole wheel of experience to it.
That just gave me goosebumps.
See, we ought to be sister teachers.
We should. Okay, mark our words on minute 19 in this interview. I really would love to do a co-class where we could really help people
Yeah.
kind of reach that place where it's not about sex. I think sex has been given such a dirty word. We need to reclaim it. But for now, it's like, reclaiming sensuality, vulnerability, that spirituality that's found within two people or more people. I mean, it's, just being able to really allow yourself.
Yeah, taking out kind of the nuts and bolts and the big O, tyranny of the O, I call it, the orgasm of getting someplace. The very, very patriarchal attitudes. So we bring more of the north-south feminine. We're the meanderers, and can be very creative too. Yeah. But a class that would begin to have us break out of a very small mold we've been given to define sex as that whole pulse of every moment that the erotic thread goes through, that joins us in a juicy way to something bigger than ourselves, to that kind of ecstatic, I can almost feel it in my genitals now, but that kind of ecstatic feeling, where you feel just appreciative of having a body.
Yeah.
And honoring it in such a way that you're going to listen to it.
Right.
And you're going to act from it.
Yes.
And you're not going to hand that power over to anybody.
Right.
And believe me, I make mistakes still. Yeah. I do it. I hand my power over, okay? Even at my age, okay? So to love yourself for that too, and become more aware of each time how you can reclaim that.
Yeah.
And go back and say, wait a minute, I think I need a break right here because I'm getting confused.
Yeah.
Things aren't quite the way. Let me think about this a moment, or whatever.
Yeah. And and I think what and I think this is my experience with you when I first met you, and even today, is that when you unleash that sexual energy, or you reclaim that power, it spills over into all of your life. You see passionately in every area. Like when I first met her a couple days ago, it was just like this breath of fresh air. Somebody who's vibrant and colorful and energetic and warm and engaging. And I'm sure a lot of that is your personality in general, but it feels to me that the more you reclaim your vulnerable, passionate, sexual self, it gives you permission to be that in the other areas of your life. Do you think that's true?
Wow, yeah, Dakota, wow. If you really feel you can say yes and no with clarity. Mm-hmm. There is so much bombarded us every day, and we've become yes people.
Yeah.
Kind of like little yes soldiers, maybe especially women, that we really were kind of want to fold over everything and make everything smooth and nice and volunteer and be everything for everybody and fill up the little pauses of emptiness in conversation or whatever. Let's look at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we have one short, wild, and woolly, precious life.
Yes.
What do we say yes to?
Amen.
Yes to and no to. And I do think that sexuality, if you can embrace it there, it's been such a shaming thing for all of us to not even look at, much less embrace and be able to navigate. So if you can grab a hold of that bull by the horns, you've got some power there. Yeah. For your neighbor who asks you something, a family member, a child, a good friend, a lover. You can really operate, because I think you know this, when you are taking care of yourself.
Yes.
That's when we take care of our lovers. Right?
Yeah.
And we think that, that's selfish, and loving is supposed to be about giving to the other person and giving it to yourself, and being able to take care of that in such a way is the vital energy then that you bring to a partnership.
Right. And I talk a lot about that too, and in the South direction is where you lean into that self-love, and that's on so many different levels. And I always tell my students, if you can't love yourself, there's nothing that you can do for another person that is beyond that. You have to be able to love yourself first.
And in sexuality, it means loving your body.
Right.
And so I have some mirror exercises where we're looking in the mirror head to toe and talking almost like out loud, a self-monologue while a partner is watching for 15 minutes, you know. And the idea is, this is the temple. This is the gift, you know, we've been given for this period of time. And no matter what shape it's in or how old it is, how many wrinkles or creases or whatever, what is our attitude about that? Because that self-love you're talking about is the self-work.
Yes.
Our partner doesn't do that work for us. Can't. So what do we bring to a partner, or I could say a family, a community? There's some group work, there's partner work, and there's self-work. And damn it, do it.
Do it. Yes. It has to be done, really. I mean, it's you can do all the work you want to outside of yourself externally. I'm going to fix this relationship. I'm going to fix my job. I'm going to do all these things. But if you're not working internally, you're gonna fall back into the old patterns again.
And it is a lifetime deal, isn't it? It's not like something that you've accomplished and then, okay, I love myself and now I can go do other things.
Right.
But it's always there.
That's the foundation.
Yeah.
I think, and to keep it from crumbling, you have to always be filling that foundation, that well.
Yeah.
And then everything else springs from that. But I just am so excited to learn more about your work. I know you do workshops, you work one-on-one with people, and I'm sure people who are watching this are dying to know what happens in a workshop with Charla.
Oh, well, depends on the workshop. Okay, sometimes I just have a model there, and I just model the more the technique skills. A little of the empowerment lessons comes along too. And so we do erotic massage on a woman. We do, I do and I have a live model there, and erotic massage on a man. Then we have workshops in which everybody's going to do erotic massages on each other. Some of them bring their partners, some don't. Some end up in same sex or whatever, because oftentimes there's more men or more women that come. You always get to pick your partner. It's a mutual thing, or you don't even have to pick any partner. But we do massaging in the morning. I won't tell you exactly. It's a bossy massage, so you learn to say what you want, and then in the afternoon is the erotic massage. And one of my most favorite classes is the Sweet Spot, and you can find them all on my website, which is charlahathaway.com. You'll probably put a little thing underneath.
Definitely.
And it's under community outreach, and you gather about 6 people or more together, and we play the 3-minute game together.
Nice.
And usually the first time is no clothes off and no sexual touching. So you get the skills. And then we can continue with that group and go into deeper places and longer periods of time.
That sounds amazing. I imagine that your work would be challenging to get into the mainstream because there is so much taboo around sex, and probably this connotation now is just a big orgy party.
Yeah, everybody just jumps there because we have so much shaming around sex that we just can't really see the innuendos of it, the little gradations of getting involved. And actually, one of my biggest jobs as a teacher is most couples that come in, they pretty much have a beginning, middle, and end to their sexuality, and it pretty much goes that way into boredom. And so we don't treat sex the same way. Where'd you go vacation? What recipe do you use to do that? You know, what kind of things did you do in yoga class? So we share a lot, movies and entertainment and stuff. But do we share our fantasies? Do we share how it went the other night with our partner?
No.
Or how we masturbated this morning? What fantasy that was like? So there's that shaming around there, and so there's the lack of acceptance and communication. We all get into our own little things. And so I feel my classes, even beyond my private one-on-one work, is a way for us to see our humanity. And to see how we all have the same longings. Men and women. And we all have the same kind of fears. And shynesses
Mm-hmm.
and needing to find the skills and the tools to find our footing
Yeah.
in a field that, so it's an exciting field to be in.
Yeah.
And yes, it's somewhat hard. Austin, Texas has been great
I'm
for me.
sure.
They just have allowed me to
Austin's fantastic.
to make, they say, make Austin weird, make Austin sexy weird.
There you go. Oh, I want that bumper sticker.
Yeah, me too.
I want that bumper sticker. Yeah. So now, when you're working, do you ever feel that there's, I don't know what the question is I'm asking, but have you ever been in a situation where you're like, I don't want to do this work anymore because it's so hard, or it's seen such a different way, or?
No, actually, maybe this is the beauty of coming upon it in my 50s.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I didn't in my 30s or 40s. But because for me it was the right thing at the right time, and I was always able to ask my body, do I want to be doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Because I do erotic body work
Mm-hmm.
too. I have a sexological bodywork degree, which is touching genitals for the purpose of transformation, healing,
Mm-hmm.
knowledge, awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Just the luckiest girl in the world. I just feel energized at the end. I really feel like I love all my clients, and I feel they love me too.
Yeah.
And they walk out the door with, so glad that there's some place, and I'm glad that there's more and more colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
My kind of work is growing. There's Tantra, but really beyond that, that always feels like another culture sometimes, but there's a lot of sexological body workers and sex educators and whatever that are in this field. You wouldn't have to Google, erotic awareness or sexual education to find people. But I find it very invigorating.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you talking with me today and sharing this. I think it really kind of takes that mystery down a notch to make it more accessible, if that makes sense.
Thank you. It does. It demystifies it in such a way that there are ways. There's teachers, there's classes,
mm-hmm.
There's books.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to leave everybody with this last thought, which I just heard the other day. Trust the soft animal of your body to love what it loves.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. Thank you.
Been fun talking with you.
It has been fun. And we're going to seriously talk some more about maybe collaborating together on some kind of... You travel actually to Portugal and different places.
I do. I traveled and taught in Europe all last summer. It was really fun.
Nice.
They're really ready for this.
Yeah. So I've got viewers from all over the world. If they were to compile, how many people would you need in order to do a workshop?
Probably a dozen. We'd probably do a weekend workshop with a dozen people.
And they pay your travel expenses?
Yep. They pay my travel and take care of me while I'm there. I'm happy.
Okay. There you have it. So if you are interested in having this beautiful woman come and teach a sexuality, what would you call it?
I call my class the sweet spot, because that's when you're getting exactly what you want.
Yes.
Very well, nothing more, nothing less.
Yes.
And it feels safe, and when it feels safe, it's sexy.
Yes.
So I teach that all workshop long, and there will be chances for touch, as well as empowerment of our words.
Mm-hmm. Good. All right, so we'll have her information down below, and it'll also be on my website. And from Austin, I head west, and I will look for the next beautiful person to interview. I am so happy.
What a great life she has. And isn't that neat what she's doing? I mean, when she asked if I'd interview me, I just thought, wow, Dakota, you're doing so many really neat things. And so thank you so much for including me in your family of people, and it's nice to meet you.
I feel very fortunate as well, so thank you. All right, we'll see you next week. Thanks, guys. Bye.